Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. So as I've been filming and posting videos, I've realized that there are some books that I just haven't had a chance to talk about yet. So I wanted to dedicate a video this week to just talking about these books that I enjoy, that maybe aren't 5 stars, but are books that I would definitely recommend, that I just wanted to share with you guys and wanted to let you guys know about. Now, disclaimer, these are books that I haven't personally talked about on my channel. Some of them are ones you maybe haven't heard of, but a lot of them are very popular, so you probably have heard of them, but I've never actually given my opinion on them, so that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Without further ado, let's get into talking about some of these books. So the first one, and actually the whole reason I made this video, is because I want to talk about this book, and that is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This is the only Sean David Hutchinson book I've ever read yet. I do want to read more of his stuff because this one was really good, but I don't know how to go about doing that. I don't know where to start really, so if you have any recommendations, let me know. But anyways, this book, absolutely incredible. I gave this book 4.5 stars, and I have a really bad habit of when I read a book, I kind of turn into the main character, if that makes sense. Like if I'm reading something, if I'm watching a show, however the main character behaves, I kind of start acting that way for like a little while, not for long, but I go through like a little phase where I'll like feel so related to the main character that I start acting like them in real life. And this, let me tell you, was not a good book for me to be doing that with. But that being said, it is a really excellent book. The synopsis of this book is that we have our main character who is 14 years old, I believe, maybe 15, and his boyfriend has just recently committed suicide. So he's obviously very upset. He's going through a really rough time, and he then gets abducted by aliens. And what do these aliens do? They give him a button and they tell him, hey, the world is gonna end. We're not the ones that are ending the world, but the world is gonna end. The world is gonna be destroyed in 144 days, and if you press this button, we'll stop it from being destroyed. But if you don't press this button, we'll just let it happen. And now you might be thinking, well, obviously he should press the button, but he does not think like that because his life is really rough. Like I said, his boyfriend just killed himself. He doesn't have many friends. He's being bullied. He's in this really toxic relationship with someone who's bullying him. He doesn't know if he wants to save humanity. He doesn't know if he wants to save the world. He doesn't think that humanity is worth saving. He thinks maybe it's for the best that everything ends. So that's our premise, and that sold me immediately. I heard that and I bought this book immediately, and it didn't disappoint. I will say, if you read the synopsis and you're expecting, oh, aliens, we're getting some sort of sci-fi thing, you're not. It's not sci-fi at all. You're not really. The aliens are there, but they're not. Okay, minor spoiler, if you don't want any spoilers, fast forward real quick. Minor spoiler, you don't even know if the aliens are actually real. It's very vague about it at the end, and it kind of implies that they were only in his imagination the whole time. We don't know. Anyways, no more spoilers now, but excellent book. I highly recommend it. This book was so emotional, and it does have some really heavy themes in it, so there are definitely things that you might need to look up trigger warnings for, because it does talk about suicide, it talks about self-harm, it talks about sexual assault, domestic violence, a lot of stuff like that. So if you aren't okay reading about those things, don't go into this one. But if you're okay with handling those heavy topics, this is a great book, and I do definitely recommend. It really did change my outlook on a lot of things, and it's just a great story, and I really do recommend. I love this book so much. I wish I would have annotated it. I didn't annotate it. This was before I ever really got into annotating my books, but this is a really good book, and I highly do recommend. If you've read anything else by Sean David Hutchinson and it was good, let me know, because I do want to read more of his stuff. The next book, I don't have my copy with me, and that is My Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Van Veen, and this one I gave 4 stars. This is such a good book. It is a gothic horror book, and it's queer, it's sapphic. It is disturbing, obviously, because it's gothic horror. Gothic horror always has really dark elements, and it is definitely very disturbing, but it's such a good read. I really enjoyed this book. I read it a while back, so I'm trying to think of the whole plot. Essentially, we have our main character who is currently being questioned because she's going to be taken to court for murder, and then we have her story, which takes place in the past, that we kind of we'll flash back a little bit to the present, but in the past we go through her story of what led up to this so-called murder, and it's really insane. Our girl, you don't really know if she's a reliable narrator or not. You don't know if she's actually insane or if these things actually did happen. Our main character essentially can see ghosts and spirits, and she meets this ghost who becomes like her familiar, kind of. It's like her best friend, and they do everything together and they love each other. And this just causes some problems because this ghost friend of hers is insanely jealous. She's very, very jealous. And so this just kind of causes a lot of problems. And there is a love story in this that's beautiful, and then it's tragic, and then there's so many things like plot parts when you finally see the plot unravel that you're just like, what? And like I said, gothic horror, always very dark. Look up trigger warnings, but it's an excellent book, and if you are a fan of gothic horror, you should read this one. Also, I haven't read a lot of gothic horror, but I do enjoy horror books, so if you have more recommendations like this that are disturbing, and especially if they're queer, let me know. Please let me know. The next one on my list is one that is very popular that I'm sure you've heard of, and that is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. When I first read this, I originally gave it 5 stars, but then after sitting on it for a while, I brought my rating down to 4 stars. Now, disclaimer, I have never read Donna Tartt's book, which I don't remember the name of it. Maybe it'll hurt me. For some reason, it's like I'm drawing a blank. I know the book, I just can't remember the name for some reason. But Donna Tartt has a book that is supposedly very, very similar to this, and a lot of people say this one is just a knockoff of that one. I'm not arguing with that. I haven't read that book. I've read this one, and I don't plan on reading that one because I've heard they're so similar. I don't really want to, but not having ever read that book, I do thoroughly enjoy this book. I thought it was slow at the beginning. Also, I'm not one for Shakespeare. I don't know much about Shakespeare. I'm sorry. I read another book about Shakespeare recently that got me kind of into a little Shakespearean mood. So maybe I'm more diving into Shakespeare, I guess. I don't know. But I didn't know much about Shakespeare when I read this. And so I was kind of just not following along. And I was like, okay, enough with the references. Can we get to the storyline? But by the end of this book, I was sobbing, crying, and if a book can make me cry, then I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't know what else to say, but this book did make me cry. It did make me very emotional, which I really loved. I actually made my friend read this book. She didn't finish it. She quit on me, but she did annotate it, the part that she read. So that's a plus, I guess. But the plot of this one, if you don't know, essentially we have a group of friends going to the school and studying English and plays and literature, that kind of thing, and like Shakespeare specifically. It's very Shakespearean. Everything is Shakespeare. And one of the friends is murdered. And the whole book is figuring out who murdered this person, why they did it, and whatever. And we're flashing back, or flashing forward, I should say, to the present, in which the person who was actually arrested for the murder is retelling the whole story 10 years later in its truth. And this book, it is queer, by the way, and it's so incredible. I've seen people label it as a gay Romeo and Juliet, which kind of, I mean, not exactly, because it's not really Romeo and Juliet, but I see what they mean because it is tragic. But it was very good, and I did really enjoy this book. It's a little slow, but you just have to stick with it. And like I said, I'm not saying this is better than Donna Tartt's book. I don't know. I'm just saying that I haven't read that one, and I did like this one. So do that what you will. The next book is another one. I don't have my copy with me, and that is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I had never heard of this book when I went to the store to get it. I was in Barnes & Noble and I saw the cover of this book, and it was so intriguing that I immediately picked it up, read the synopsis, and was like, wait, this sounds amazing. And then, because I always do this, I went on my phone and Googled, is this book gay? And it was. Count me in. This one is another one that's kind of like a horror-ish type book. Very disturbing, again. But it was so excellent. This book, oh my god, it was beautiful. And when I finished it, I was so mad because it ends in a cliffhanger and there isn't going to be a sequel. That made me so irrationally mad. I can't even, but that's how much I love this book. I really loved it. So let me tell you. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to read it if it ends on a cliffhanger, it's not a huge cliffhanger, and it's still definitely worth reading. So don't give up on me because of that. The plot of this book follows this girl's like boarding school that is located on this remote island where there's nothing else on the island but this school. And then this sickness comes to the school, and the school is forced to quarantine, and no one can leave the island, no one can come on the island. And this sickness isn't any normal type of sickness. It affects people differently, and it takes over your body, and it has affected everything on the island, the plants, the animals, absolutely everything is affected by the sickness. And if it doesn't kill you, it like morphs your body, and you keep changing and changing until you can't handle it anymore and you die. We follow our main character and her 2 best friends as they sort of navigate through this world and discover some bad things that are going on, some things that the teachers are doing. They discover how this disease came about, what caused it, just some very terrible things that are going on behind the scenes. And it, again, very disturbing. Definitely parts where I was like, oh, okay, I didn't need to hear that whole description, oh my god. But it's such a good book, so intriguing, and it will keep you on the edge of your seat with every single page. And I rated this book 4.25 stars. I don't know if I already said that, but it's so good. You need to read it. And I haven't read any other Rory Power book, but I want to read Burn Our Bodies Down. So if anyone's read that, let me know if it was good, but this one is excellent. I highly recommend this one. I recommend it so hard. It is so good. The next two are books that I have actually mentioned before in passing, but I haven't actually talked about because they tend to get overshadowed, and that is Loveless and Radio Silence. These are both books by Alice Oseman, who I love Alice Oseman. I'm always talking about Alice Oseman, but these are books that kind of, like I said, get pushed back because I love solitaire so much, and I don't like I Was Born for this, so those are the ones I kind of talk about more, and these ones I don't talk about much, but I do really enjoy these and I do recommend. So I'm going to talk about Radio Silence first. So I rated Radio Silence 3.75 stars. This copy is kind of beat up. I have a different copy that's like cleaner, but like my cat bit the corner of this. I don't know if you can see, and then I did annotate it, but this book is excellent. Radio Silence, it's hard for me to remember the exact plot, so I'm like trying to look at the back to reference it, but essentially we have our main character who listens to this like podcast, and then we also have the creator of the podcast, and they end up meeting each other. But it's more than that. There's so much more. They're struggling with just life in general, the struggles of being a teenager who's about to graduate, and just the pressure that's on you. And this book was so good. And also obviously it's Alice Oseman, so it's queer, and this book was just very, like I say, I feel like I keep saying this, but this book was very emotional. It was very heartfelt. It was beautiful in every way. I rated this one 3.75 stars. I see so many people say that this is their favorite Alice Oseman book, and I respect that opinion. I heavily respect that opinion because it is excellent. I'm sorry that I don't recall the plot exactly. I wish I could give you a better description, but it's so good. You should definitely read it. And then the other one, like I said, is Loveless. Loveless is one of my absolute favorites of Alice Oseman's books. It's a 4.5 star for me, so almost a 5 star. Loveless follows our main character, Georgia, who is starting her first year of college and her life at university, and she's going to the same school as some of her friends, so it's not like she doesn't know anyone. She knows people, but she's struggling to come to terms with her sexuality because she has never dated anyone, she's never had a crush on anyone, and she's never heard of asexuality or aromanticism. She doesn't know those terms even exist. She doesn't know that those are identities that a person can have, and it just kind of comes with her coming to terms with her identity through all of these experiences that she's having. And there's so much focus on friendship in this book, and I think that's so beautiful because I think books always tend to focus on romantic relationships, and we have to understand that platonic relationships are also so important, if not more important in life than romantic relationships. And I think that's really beautiful, and it also represents a community that just is not represented well enough in media, and so I love that. And this book is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I absolutely adore this book, and I adore Alice, and if you haven't read this one, you definitely should. Next one is another very popular one, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I'm not gonna lie, while I was reading it, at first I was not enjoying it at all. I was like, okay, what is going on? But as I read more and more, I got it. I got there. And I will say, I love a book that's gonna confuse me in a good way. Like a book that confuses me, but then it kind of clicks a little bit at the end. That's a book that I love, and this book definitely is confusing. It's weird, and I love it. I see so many people compare this in terms of like confusingness to The Starless Sea, which I think isn't the perfect comparison because I know a lot of people that really like one and really don't like the other, but I do think it's a good comparison because I happen to really love both of those books. But essentially this book follows our main character, who they call Piranesi, and Piranesi is in this weird world of rooms that have like water. There's a tide that comes through, there's paintings, there's statues, there's all sorts of weird things, and there's only one other person in this world with him, and that's the other. And he doesn't know really why he's here, what he's doing here, but he kind of keeps a diary. He keeps a record of how long he's been here and what he's been doing every day, and it's super weird, super confusing, super like psychological, and then the ending will have you like, huh, wow, that's what was going on. And I just think this book is very excellent. I think it's very well done. It's very smart. It was handled very well, and I just really enjoyed it. I really think it made me think, and it made me confused, and I really liked that about it. So if that's something that you're looking for, you should definitely read this book because it's a really good one. Next we have The Boy Who Saw in Colors, which this one is one that I kind of have mixed feelings about. I rated it very high. I rated it 4.75 stars, and I actually would have rated it 5 stars if it weren't for one thing, and that one thing is plagiarism. I don't know exactly how much of this was on purpose, but there were a lot of like quotes in this book that are direct quotes from other like written works or like works of media that was just tweaked a little bit. Like there were quotes from like the Hamilton musical that were in here, and I was just like, huh, they changed like one word, and I was like, that's weird. And there was the quote, I don't know what it's actually from, but it's the quote where it says, she didn't look nice. She looked like art, and art isn't supposed to look nice. It's supposed to make you feel something. It had like that exact quote, just changed like a little bit in this book. And when I read it, I was like, that's from something else. And there was just so many quotes that were like that, which I just thought was really weird, and it kind of set me off, because obviously the writer of this book can write, because the whole storyline, the characterization, everything was very excellent and very well done. So I don't know why she felt the need to steal these quotes from other people. And maybe she was making references, but it doesn't make sense for her to be making references, because the book is written from the perspective of a kid in Nazi Germany. So these things that she's referencing, he wouldn't be able to reference them. So it was just very confusing. I didn't exactly understand that. That was where the disconnect was. But aside from that, the actual book part of this book was excellent. It's historical fiction of the Holocaust, which I'm always a sucker for, and it's queer. It's just so well done. It talks about just all of the horrors that happened during this time period. It follows our main character, who is a half Jewish boy who is with his brother, and they get taken from their parents to this boarding school, essentially, where they are raised to be Nazis. Like, they are going to a Nazi boarding school, because even though they're half Jewish, they're like not visibly Jewish, so it's okay for them to be raised into this ideology. And it just kind of shows how difficult it is when there's indoctrination, when there's people that are pushing these views on you, and it's hard to think for yourself and to establish your own morals when people are telling you what to think and people are telling you how to feel. And it shows just how young these people were, because he's just a kid and he doesn't know the depth of what's going on. He doesn't actually know what he's fighting for, and he doesn't understand what's going on because nobody's telling him. It's very emotional, it's very raw, and it's a lot. It's heavy, a lot. I feel like I keep recommending books that are like very heavy. This book is heavy, but it's very good. And like I said, it's queer, and it explores that, because obviously during the Holocaust, Jews were the people that were persecuted against the most, but there were other groups that were persecuted against as well. Disabled people, queer people, all these marginalized groups were also like mass executed. And it just talks a lot about identity and about sense of self and about just your morals. How would you feel about things if there was no one pressuring you on how to feel? And it's a really good book. But like I said, the whole quote referencing thing, a little weird. Not sure how to feel about that. So I do recommend, though. I think I might need to research if this author is problematic, because it feels problematic. It feels like plagiarism, but alas, it was a good read. So, and then the final book I have on my list is To Be Devoured. This book is super small, okay? Super small. It's less than 100 pages. It's like 80 pages. Again, disturbing. If you want something that is going to keep you up at night because it was so weird and disgusting and gory, pick this one up. If you want something that is going to freak you out, this is what you want to read. When I was explaining this book to my best friend while I was reading it, she was like, what the fuck? That's weird. And it is weird. It's very weird. Very disgusting, very disturbing. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. This book follows our main character, who has an obsession with vultures. She is so obsessed with vultures that she wants to be a vulture, because she's obsessed with the fact that vultures eat carrion. She's obsessed with the fact that vultures just eat dead meat that's just been sitting there uncooked, and they just eat it and they devour it. And that's what she wants to do. She is so obsessed with these vultures. She wants to become one of them, and she wants to eat dead meat. Really weird. And this is her whole premise, and it just goes as her weird little obsession gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and she becomes more and more unreliable. And then at the end, you're like, that's what was happening the whole time. And it's so crazy, and you can't trust anything she says, and you're so disturbed by her actions, and you're like, what are you doing? What is going on? Why do you think this way? And it's just really good. I love books that'll put me in the mind of someone who is insane, and that's what this was. It was insane. It was disgusting. There were so many parts where I had to put it down and be like, okay, I literally can't do this anymore. This is so gross. But then I would pick it right back up and keep reading. Excellent book. I really did enjoy it. You have to be a very specific audience to enjoy this, but if you like weird, dark, gory stories, this is for you, and I highly recommend. You'll get through it super quick, and I loved it. And it's also queer, by the way. It's sapphic, disturbingly so, but yeah, I recommend. And that's all the books I have to talk about today. There may be more that I haven't talked about before that I want to talk about in the future. If you guys like this kind of video, let me know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Also, I wanted to say I might not be posting for a little while. I'll make a post like of just a comment like just a written out paragraph of me explaining this a little more. But I'm going to be, it's summer, school's getting out, and then I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to be away from home, and I don't really want to film and post while I'm on vacation. I just want to enjoy my time off. So I might be posting, but I probably won't be posting every week during the summer. I might post sporadically if I get the chance, but I will be back posting definitely by August. Probably I'll post videos in between them, but not regularly. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. But anyways, if you guys have any ideas for videos, please let me know. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. I'll see you when I see you, I guess. So bye.